Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. If ever there was a club more deserving of an In Crisis Goldbridge video, it's Chelsea. And a lot of people have been saying, why haven't you done it? Because it's an absolute shower at Chelsea at the moment. And look, yes, Chelsea. But you know what? Actually, when I look at it, I'd be very, very interested to see what the comments are on this, because obviously I reacted to Chelsea's loss against City. I didn't think it was a very good performance. Chelsea fans came to the rescue. But I actually think there's two big things here when you try and work your way through the mess that is Chelsea. Let's just give it a few headlines. Todd Boehly's come in with Clearlake. Over £1 billion has been spent. The example of Raheem Sterling is a £50 million signing by them on 300k a week that's now training on his own, trying to get moved out of the club with 8 days to go. That's embarrassing. And there are definitely embarrassing elements of this Chelsea ownership. Conor Gallagher being shipped out of the club because he can't play possession football under Maresca is complete and utter nonsense. Pochettino basically left Chelsea because of some of the decisions they wanted to make around Chalobah and Gallagher because they were pure profit. So to talk about Conor Gallagher being in his final year or he can't play possession football really insults the intelligence of Chelsea fans who know you were trying to sell. I know they were trying to sell Conor Gallagher halfway through last season. So that is just bad ownership and it's embarrassing. Have the balls to say that you're selling the likes of Chalobah and Gallagher because they're pure profit and you're keeping the likes of Mudryk, etc., who may not be that good because they're on massive long contracts. You know, be honest with your fans because you're eroding the relationship with them. But there is also maybe a crisis at Chelsea. You know, you look at the signing of João Felix, you look at what's happening with Sterling, you look at what Maresca said yesterday about the sheer volume of players that are not training with the first team with their kids. They're training on their own in sort of like the naughty boys club. Ben Chilwell's there, Chalobah's there, Sterling's there. There's quite a few of them there. But I think there's probably two aspects to this. Three, if you count the football fans of Chelsea, were the most important people. You've got the fans, and look, rivalry exists, but we're all fans at the end of the day. We saw that with the Super League. We want the same thing. We just want it for our own club. So we argue, we banter, we rival. But Chelsea fans will be the big victim if this all goes wrong. You've got the manager, who I feel sorry for, who I'll talk about in a moment. And then you've got the ownership, who, to be honest with you, as we've seen with many club ownerships badly, you know, they basically dictate to the fans, you know, what's going to happen. When I listened to Maresca yesterday talking about Raheem Sterling and how he's training with other players and he's not part of the group, and he was very blunt and he was basically saying, look, we have got a lot of players, but it's not impacting on me. I'm working with the 20 or so players that I want to build a future with Chelsea. The rest of them are free to go. It's harsh, it's blunt, but I tell you what, I feel bad for Maresca because as a manager, you just want to work with 20 players at the start of a season, build a rhythm, build a team you want to work with, and you want to not use the players that are going to cause you problems that you don't want. And when I say problems, I don't mean like they've got bad attitudes. I mean, you just don't want those players. So from the manager's point of view, I absolutely am on board. The scary thing about Maresca is he could be gone by Christmas because that's what Chelsea do. But really, he's in an impossible situation. And he can't be criticised for disrespecting Raheem Sterling by putting him in the wherever he is. Because ultimately, if he doesn't want to use that player, I actually wish Man United dealt with players like this. I actually wish, I'm sure there's other fans out there. I think if a manager can, you know, basically say, I don't want this player, can we get rid of him? That's the right of every manager. He will lose his job if he's wrong on that. Like, I've heard some pundits, you know, saying it's disrespectful to treat Raheem Sterling like that. It's not disrespectful. If I'm the manager of Arsenal and I walk in and I go, you know what, I might shock everybody here, but I actually don't rate Declan Rice. I want to get another midfielder, and I'd say he's going. That's on me if it all goes wrong. The manager's got to manage. I find it incredible in relation to Raheem Sterling that he was actually bought by Todd Boehly and the Chelsea ownership for 50 million and he's on 300k a week. That's like £14 million a year in wages, and you're trying to get rid of a player like that everyone knows you don't want. That's where I move away from the manager and say, I understand the manager's situation. He didn't buy Sterling. He needs a small squad. If Chelsea have bought nearly every player that exists in the world, it's not Maresca's job to train 50 players. It's impossible. He wants to train 20. He's right. The mess, the carnage, the embarrassment lies with Boehly and whoever's running Chelsea, because it's embarrassing that they've only been here for 2 years. They've spent well over £1 billion. And Sterling is a player that they bought, that they're now trying to sell. You know, this hoarding of players is incredibly embarrassing, and it must be very, very difficult. And of course it's a crisis, because if this goes wrong, you look at what Chelsea have done with Raheem Sterling, and you take a club like Brighton, Aston Villa, Newcastle. Can they do what Chelsea have done in the last 2 months? Can they, 2 years, feels like 2 months. Can they buy a player for £50 million on 300k a week, one of the best paid players in the Premier League, and then a week out from the window, end of the window, go, yeah, we don't like you, go and train on your own? Like, it's an incredible position to be in, and it sort of betrays a position that Chelsea are absolutely minted. You know, Man United can't do that. I don't think Arsenal can do that. How do you even move this player on? Everybody in the world knows he's on a big contract on 300k a week, and you spent £50 million on him 2 years ago. No one's giving him 300 grand a week for a start and giving Chelsea money. And yet, Chelsea will probably find a way to get Sterling to Liverpool and bring Alexi McAllister back the other way. I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Chelsea just seem to do things that you go, how did they do that? There used to be a programme presented by Des Lynam years ago, and it was basically, how do they do that? I'll tell you what, they could run a whole series on Chelsea, because it is incredible. In another way, as much as they're in crisis, as much as aspects of what they're doing is embarrassing, there are aspects of what they do which is incredible. Like, if Chelsea can move Raheem Sterling on in the next week, he's on 300k a week, cost £50 million 2 years ago, and everybody knows Chelsea don't want him. If they can move him on and get a good deal, Man United have got Jadon Sancho, who played in a Champions League final, who's on less money than Sterling, arguably a better player than Sterling, and, you know, less baggage at the moment because he's been available all summer, and United can't offload him. So if Chelsea offload Sterling, I'll be sat there going, yeah, it's chaotic, but they've gone and done it again. And this is the thing about Chelsea. It's almost like if they just calmed down, they are very good in the transfer window. Like, they're ridiculous how many deals they do, but they are very good at selling and very good at buying. It's just chaotic. They just need to settle down. I think that's what Maresca's trying to say. I don't need all these players. I don't need all these players. I just need 20 players. I don't need those players. And then you've got people attacking him saying, well, he's disrespecting him. He's disrespecting him. How can you be disrespecting anybody as a manager if you come into the club as a new manager and say, I don't want these players? If he comes in and goes, I don't want Dewsbury Hall, you go and train on your own, it's open season because he bought him. But I think Maresca is something very different to what's going on at Chelsea. And as I said, there are aspects of what Chelsea have done around Conor Gallagher, Chalobah, that is just ridiculous. The Sterling thing is ridiculous in the sense that they bought him, and the accumulation of players is ridiculous. And I'm very suspicious of how Gallagher and everyone else gets treated, and then how other players who are on these massive long contracts don't. You know, I personally think Mudryk represents that, because I don't think he's that good, but he's never a player they're trying to get rid of because he's on a massive contract. I worry about Chelsea, and I'm not even a Chelsea fan. I look at it and just go, there's so many players there. No other club can carry that amount of players. So how are Chelsea doing it? Like, Chelsea don't make more money than Man City. They don't make more money than Man United, and yet they've got a squad of players that is just incredible. People will point to the fact that, yeah, but we make as much in sales as we do in purchases. Yeah, that's probably how they're doing it, but it's still very chaotic, isn't it? They just need to settle down. That's what needs to happen. And I tell you what, João Felix is another weird deal. But it's probably a facilitator of, we've got to do a deal with Atletico Madrid where we take a player from them for Conor Gallagher to go, and we need Conor Gallagher to go. So we bring João Felix back. If Chelsea end up with Osman, they've had a fantastic summer. For me, Chelsea, look, goalkeeper's a bit dodgy, but if Chelsea come out of this transfer window with a top-class striker, whoever that top-class striker is, they'll have a good season, in my opinion. If they don't come out of this season with a top-class striker, I'd worry about them. And that's the incredible thing. For all the chaos, for all the embarrassment, for all I think Maresca's right and the higher-ups are wrong, and for all the things I think they should have kept Pochettino for continuity, they didn't. It's another reset, and that's another thing they need to settle down with. They need to keep with this Maresca for at least 2 years for once. It's chaotic, it's crisis, it's potentially very, very dangerous. But if they bring Osman in the next 8 days, I think they'll get in the top 4, and that's all that matters on the pitch. Results on the pitch will get Chelsea fans on side. But yeah, technically, it can't not be a crisis, can it? It's just chaotic. Anyway, get your comments in below. I mean, we sort of went all over the place there. I'm very interested to see what your comments are. Make sure you subscribe, smash a like on the video. I'll speak to you on the next one.